Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome. In this video, we are going to look at the tongue and the sense of taste. This is anatomy, and we are going to look at the anatomy of a tongue as well as the functions of the different part of the tongue. So what is a tongue? The tongue is a muscular organ located in the mouth that plays a crucial role in taste sensation. So a tongue is actually a muscular organ that aids in the taste sensation. Remember, we have different tastes. We may have sweet, sour taste. So it is actually the role of the tongue to differentiate the tastes of different things that we are taking in to our body as a nutrient. So we are going to look at the different component of the tongue and how it plays a role in the sensation of taste. And very important, tongue, it helps in the manipulation of foods and is essential for speech production. So very importantly, apart from the taste sensation, it also helps in manipulation of food. When we said manipulation of food, it is based on the tests that we tested for a particular food that help us to manipulate the kind of food that we are going to arrange for ourselves. And very importantly, the tongue also aids in our speech, that is production of our speech. So we talk. So tongue also play a vital role in talks or in speech production. So this is actually some different parts of the tongue, and as we continue, we will see the different functions of each of the parts of the tongue. You can see we have anterior and we have posterior parts, and we also have affix. And of course, in the anterior part, we have foliate, vallate, filiform, and fungiform. These are the four different parts, the different components, or the different regions that are found in the anterior part of the tongue. Please don't forget about it, ladies and gentlemen. The anterior part of the tongue, we have foliate, vallate, filiform, and we have fungiform. These are the components that are found in the anterior part. While in the posterior part of the tongue, we have palatine tonsil, we have palatoglossus, and we have terminal sulcus. So these are the three components of the posterior part of the tongue, where we have palatine tonsil, we have palatoglossus, we have terminal sulcus, and in addition, there is also lingual tonsil as well as palatoglossal arc. These are the five posterior part of the tongue. Please, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget about them. So you see we have five components of the posterior parts. And very importantly, ladies and gentlemen, we also have epiglottis. We have lymphoid nodules for lingual tonsils. We have forearm cecum, and we have palatopharyngeus. So these are the different components of the tongue. And as we continue with the lecture, we are going to look at how this tongue and the component of the tongue plays essential role. So the tongue is covered with a moist tissue called mucosa, which contains taste buds. So very importantly, the tongue is covered with a moist tissue, and this moist tissue that are found in or that are covered are called mucosa, and this mucosa also contains taste buds. So Let's see actually, ladies and gentlemen, as we said, the anatomy of the tongue, we have posterior and the anterior. So for the anterior, so the tongue is actually made up of both intrinsic and extrinsic muscles that allow for its movement and flexibility. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, we use our tongue to control our food, to roll our food from one side to another side. So what makes the tongues to be moving and flexible is because it contains both intrinsic and extrinsic muscles. And these intrinsic muscles, as we can see, they are arranged in transverse, vertical, as well as longitudinal ways. And of course, the tongue is actually made up of several distinct regions. And these regions of the tongues, we have tip, body, and the root. So, and of course, in addition, the surface of the tongue is covered with papillae, which are small, and then we have nipple-like projections that contains root. So you see the surface of the tongue, but the surface of the tongue, it is covered with two important structures. The first structure is papillae and then nipple-like projections. The papillae, they are very small, and then of course the nipple-like projections, they contain paste roots. So what are the different types of test boots? So we have been talking about the test boot. The mucosa contain test boot. The nipple-like projections also contain test boots. So these test boots, there are four primary types of test boots. We have fungiform, foliate, we have circumvallate, and then we have filiform. So these test boots, they are like the posterior part of the tongue, and it's made up of these four different regions: fungiform, foliate, circumvallate, and then we have filiform. So now, what are the functions of fungiform papillae? The fungiform papillae are located mostly on the tip and the side of the tongue, and they detect sweet and salty tastes. So you see, the fungiform, which is one of the regions that are found in the taste buds, it has fungiform, and the major functions of the fungiform, it actually aids in detecting sweet and salty tastes, and it is found on the tip and side of the tongue. So then, in addition, ladies and gentlemen, we have circumvallate papillae. So the circumvallate papillae, they are found at the back of the tongue and are associated with beta tests and are arranged in a V shape. So you see, I think I show you this vallate structure from the slide here. Let me show you from here. If you could remember, ladies and gentlemen, I'll show you this structure. So you see, this is a vallate. So vallate is something as we can see, circumvallate. So this is the vallate, and as you can see, it is having V shape. And of course, this is the fungiform vallate, which is found at the tip and the side of the tongue. And the major functions of the fungiform, if you could remember from the slides that I just shown, it is important in sweet and salty tests. So this is the vallate, and we have filiform, we have foliate. So then, of course, let's look at so this is the fungiform. So the fungiform, it is actually very important in tests, so sweet and salty test. And then, of course, for the circumvallate, it has V shape, and of course, it is associated with the beta test. So ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to do, please, you see now you have the importance or the functions of two regions of the test boot, which is fungiform and circumvallate papillae. So now, please, what are the functions of foliate? and filiform? Please, I want you to put this answer in the comment section of this video. Write the answer of these two other organs, foliate and filiform. So now, this is actually the structure of the tongue. So you see we have fungiform, we have filiform, then we have, of course, we have circumvallate papillae, and then we have foliate papillae. So please, I want you to write the functions of foliate and filiform. Here you have the functions of fungiform and vallate. So then the next thing, what are the 5 basic tests? There are 5 basic tests identified, which are, we have sweet test, we have sour test, we have salty, bitter, and umami test. So these are the 5 tests that we tested in most of the things that we are taking or in our nutritional foods. So now, let's start with the sweet test. Sweetness typically indicates the presence of sugars, while sour taste is linked to acidity. So whenever we said sweet taste is associated with sugar, while sour taste is linked with acidity. So these are actually the different tests that we have. Like in the case of sour taste, we have orange, and then we have bitter in the case of pepper, and then we have salty in the case of salt. We have sweet, chocolate, and we have umami in apple. So umami test is a test of apple. So then the next thing, umami is recognized as a savory test, and it's associated with amino acid and is commonly found in foods like meat and cheese. So apart from apple, the taste that we have in meat and cheese are examples of the umami test. And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, from this picture, you can see that the sour tests are detected by the side-by-side part of the tongue, and then the bitter tests are tested by the tip of the test, and then the salty tests, the bitter tests are actually from the roots of the tongue, and then of course for the salty test is usually at the tip of the test, and of course the sweet test also at the tip of the test also apply to umami. So these are actually the region or the different region of the tongue where the tests are detected. So then the next thing is actually the role of taste receptors. Taste receptors are on the tongue interact with food molecules to send signals to the brain. So ladies and gentlemen, in all the foods that we are taking, the taste that we sense, it's connected with our brain. So there are receptors that are usually found on the surface of the tongue that interact with the food molecules. Often to this interaction, a signal sends to the brain and then interpreted. So then each taste bud contains up to about 100 taste cell receptors which are sensitive to specific taste qualities. So you see, ladies and gentlemen, we talk about the taste bud. So in this taste bud, we have different regions, and they actually detect different types of tests. So each of these taste buds, like papillae, vallate, foliate, each of them, they have up to 100 test receptors, 10 receptor cells. And it is this test receptor tests that are sensitive in identifying a specific test. So it is the test receptors that are sensitive to a specific test qualities. Assuming now you have a problem with the receptors of the sweet, so definitely when you take any sweet nutrient or food substances, you will not get or you will not sense that sweetness because of the problem of the taste receptor cells that are found in the sweet taste region. So then the next thing, ladies and gentlemen, there is actually a strong connection between the smell and the tests, which we are going to look at it one after the other. As we can see here, we have orthonasal and retronasal region. The major function of orthonasal region is to smell something from external through the nostrils, while the retronasal, it is responsible for smelling of the food substances or material from the mouth. So you see, in the brain we have the region that is the flavor region, where it is responsible for all the types of tastes, smelling, aroma, sweet, and so many others. So now, the activation of these receptors leads to the perception of flavor and the enjoyment of food. So these receptors must be activated by the food substances, often their interaction with the receptors, which is actually lead to the perception of the flavor as well as the enjoyment that we actually have in our foods that we are taking. So then the connection between the taste and smell. So the sense of taste is closely linked to the sense of smell, contributing to the overall flavor experience. And when food is consumed, the aroma molecules travel to the olfactory receptors in the nasal cavity. So whenever we consume foods, the aroma molecules from that particular food will travel to the olfactory receptors and will bind to it in the nasal cavity. So that is what actually happened. So that is why we have the orthonasal and retronasal. The major functions of this orthonasal and retronasal is to smell the food substances from outside and inside our body. The outside of the body, we tested it through the orthonasal cavity using our nostrils, and then for the retronasal cavity, it is connected to our mouth. So a diminished sense of smell can significantly impact the perception of taste, making food bland. So if there is actually a diminished sense of smell, that can significantly have impact on the perception of the taste, and that will make the food bland. So then what are the factors that affect the sensation? The taste sensation. So there are several factors that influence our taste perception. So sometimes in genetics, there are some people that they have problem with sense of taste due to the genetics problem or aging, because as we grow age, our taste receptors will usually deform, and as a result of that, we'll have problem with the taste sensation. So that is why sometimes as we grow age, there are a lot of people that they will no longer actually have a sensation of taste. And also in some health conditions, when we are having health issues, sometimes we lose taste sensation. Temperature also. One of the also factors that affects taste of food includes temperature. So flavor of some food become more intense as the food become warmer, and on the other hand, heating some food to high temperature might lose some flavors. So you see, apart from genetics, heat of the health conditions, temperature also affects the taste sensation of our food molecules. Then certain medications and illness, there are some drugs that we check or under some health condition can diminish taste sensation or alter taste preference. Also, cultural background and exposure to various cuisines can shape individual taste experiences. You see now, assuming now you are in Nigeria and you travel to other part of the world, because of their cultural background, and the exposure, because you are not used to the types of food that they are taking, so it might actually have, or it might actually affect your taste sensation because you are not familiar with it. Then taste and nutrition. Understanding taste can help in making healthier food choices and dietary decisions. So if you are able to understand your tastes, it can easily help you in making healthier food choices and also the dietary decisions. That is the types of food substances that you would be taking. So making healthier food and choices, it is one of the very important things in understanding your taste. Foods that are perceived as bitter might deter consumption, which can impact nutritional intake. So there are foods that you know that if you are taking them, they are bitter, you will not longer take them. So incorporating a variety of tastes can enhance meals and promote a balanced diet. So now the tongue's role in oral health. The tongue can harbor bacteria, and these bacteria are known to contribute to overall health issues or contribute oral health issues such as bad breath. So in our tongue, we have some bacteria, and some of these bacteria, they contribute to our bad breath. And regular cleaning of the tongue can help maintain oral hygiene and promote better taste perception. You see, these are some of the microorganisms that can be found on our tongue. So we have what we call balanced micro ecosystem, where in your tongue you may have some fungi, you can have CRP, you can have viruses, and you can have bacteria. So you see, this is also the tongue and the teeth. So some of these bacteria, they contribute to our bad breathing, mouth odor due to the presence of this bacteria. So that is why, because of this bacteria, some of these bacteria are even taking them from the foods that you are taking. So that's why it is very important for regular cleaning of your tongue as well as your teeth. And that will promote the better taste perception. So then, very importantly, the health of the tongue can reflect overall health. So a certain condition can manifest in its appearance. So the health of the tongue can reflect overall health. So that is why sometimes you can actually know whether you are healthy or you are having diseases based on the taste of the food or based on the health of your tongue. So in conclusion, the tongue is essential not only for taste but also for speech and digestion. A deeper understanding of the tongue and taste can enhance our appreciation for food and flavor. So ongoing research continues to explore the complexities of taste and its impact on human experience. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I hope you would enjoy this video. Don't forget to subscribe my YouTube community. Thank you very much and see you next.